Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog concerning Hurricane Nate in the final hours before landfall here along the northern Gulf of Mexico, headed for the southeast Louisiana and Mississippi coast. Also impacts in Alabama and western Florida, the Mobile, Alabama area, and over to Pensacola, Navarre Beach, etc. And from New Orleans down to Grand Isle and all the way down the toe of Louisiana, as it's called. And this will move inland as well very quickly and possibly bring tropical storm conditions and flooding rain to portions of the deep south. As of the 2 p.m. Eastern Time advisory, the intermediate advisory, Nate is a 90-mile-per-hour hurricane with the pressure at 982 millibars, and it's really moving fast, north-northwest at 25 miles per hour. This is what the track map looks like over the next several days, with the biggest impact here being to the central Gulf Coast for obvious reasons right through here. But then do not discount this, folks, when it moves inland very rapidly. Montgomery, Birmingham, cities in between, maybe some trees down and power outages. I would say that's almost a guarantee. And then very heavy rain across this region. The strongest winds are going to be on the eastern side of this track, and that's going to bring a lot of inclement, rough, nasty weather tonight, and the possibility of tornadoes exists as well. So you need to be weather aware over the next 24 to 36 hours as this moves out of the Gulf of Mexico into the deep south, and then finally through parts of Kentucky, West Virginia, and eventually ending up over the northeast United States. Just a general rainmaker across this region, but I think the biggest threat of issues will obviously be down in this area, especially because of the fast forward motion that it has. Okay, so this is going to be impacting a lot of people, not just at the coast. Looking at the upper ocean heat content map, Nate is moving out of the higher ocean heat content areas. Still very warm water left in front of it, warm enough to keep this sustained as a 90-mile-per-hour hurricane, and who knows, it might even try to strengthen a little bit more before that. The highest risk of storm surge is going to be across this area more than likely, with the potential for up to 11 feet of storm surge inundation above ground level. A lot depends on the trajectory, exactly where the center makes landfall, and the timing of it. And so the range is, I think, 7 to 11 feet or so. Not everybody's going to see that. And some areas will see only a couple of feet of inundation. Some areas will see several feet. It's highly variable, and a lot goes into trying to determine what that might be. The bottom line is people down here all along the storm surge warning area need to just stay home, stay away from the coastal areas, and be ready for rapidly rising water as Nate moves up here also very rapidly into the late afternoon and evening hours. The satellite presentation, fairly healthy looking, has a very strong band over here on the eastern side. See that right there, and no discernible eye on the rate of the satellite. Maybe there's an eye feature trying to develop right in here. It is getting close to the coastline. Maybe it comes in just near sunset. We will just have to see. Very large outflow pattern also associated with it here on the eastern side, and the fast movement of it really is going to bring these conditions in here quickly. I think people are going to be surprised and how fast conditions deteriorate. The rest of the tropics, there's other stuff going on. Let me just go back to the Hurricane Center's homepage real quick. This area probably going to develop into a tropical storm or a subtropical storm, meaning that it has some tropical characteristics that are derived from the warm waters over here, but also some non-tropical characteristics, more along the lines of what you see with these mid-latitude storms over the northern ocean. The bottom line is, if it develops, it gets a name, and whatever, it's just going to be an issue to shipping interests out in that part of the open ocean. Real quick, a look at the National Weather Service site. You can see a very large area here of sort of your patchwork of watches and warnings, and that extends up into western North Carolina, northern Georgia, and throughout Alabama. This is just going to be a big mess in the overnight hours tonight, and people need to be weather aware. I cannot emphasize that enough. Your NOAA weather radios, your smartphones, etc. Make sure everything's on so that you can be alerted in case there's a tornado, a high wind threat, or the possibility, especially in the higher elevations of Georgia, northeast Alabama, eastern Tennessee, northwest South Carolina, western North Carolina. We're basically talking about all this area painted in green for the flood watch. That could be an issue there, so please be aware. Flash flooding, very serious and very dangerous. And this onshore flow even impacting areas into Texas, with some coastal flooding issues as well. Generally, this big, giant high-pressure area has caused this easterly flow across this region over the last several days, piling the water up. Nate coming along, basically just exacerbating the problem. I want to show you the radar real quick. Everything's moving in now. The first band's reaching the northern Gulf Coast, and those bands extend all the way over into portions of the western Florida Panhandle. And this will really light up as the night goes on throughout southern portions of the central Gulf Coast, and then spreading from there. You can see just a little bit the outline of this front that's coming, but it's not really a deep trough digging in to kick Nate off to the north and east eventually. It's just coming around this large high pressure area over the western Atlantic between it and this approaching trough. Just an interesting setup that is moving so very fast. That is the latest from me in regards to what's going on with Nate. I have set up all kinds of equipment down here along the northern Gulf Coast, and actually I want to show you something real quick. And you can watch this, some of these different things that I have set up. Let me just find it, Hurricane Nate, there you are, in our app. I do a lot of these video updates for Hurricane Pro in HD, but we have our own app, so I'm a contributor to Hurricane Pro in HD, but ours is about the impact, and that's why we named it Hurricane Impact. 2 words. It's available on the App Store and on Google Play, and the camera systems that we have set up, all of those are feeding into that app, Hurricane Impact, on the App Store. And check it out. It also has live weather data, and all of my Twitter information, everything is aggregated in there. And so as users of Hurricane Pro in HD, wanted to make you aware of that. Have a great rest of your afternoon and evening if you're down on the central Gulf Coast area. Hunker down, be smart, use common sense. We want you back to be able to watch future updates, all right? I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com for Hurricane Pro and HD. I'll have more for you tomorrow.